What's up, developers? It's RealToughCandy from RealToughCandy.io, popping on with another video. Today, I wanted to share this story, why this guy quit a $500,000 a year job at Amazon to work for himself. That's right, you heard it right. $500,000 a year at Amazon. He was a software engineer, and he shared his story over at indiehackers.com. This is a website for startups and people sharing their business techniques, going their own way and making a name for themselves. Now, the story is pretty short. This is not a long read by any means, probably a 5-minute read in total. The reason he left his cushy job at Amazon for $500,000 a year is because he was lacking motivation. In 2010 is when he started out in the field, and he was not getting paid a lot relative to future years, as you can see in this crude yet effective chart. So 2010, okay, low income relatively, lots of motivation. He was feeling it. He was a get her done. Let's go do this. Going forward another year, less motivation, but more money. And then the chart goes up, and by 2014 and a half, he reached a critical point here where his motivation met his compensation. As the money kept going up, the motivation kept going down. And from there, it was just a crash and burn. And by 2019, he had seen the lowest motivation ever in his life, but he was getting more compensation, promotions, recognition, and praise than ever. And then he goes on to explain the details of losing that motivation. He says, for the first couple of years, my motivation was off the charts. I was mostly working with another person on an internal tool, and there was very little scrutiny around it. It was a time where I had a lot of independence in choosing how to work and what to work on, at least relative to more recent years. And then he goes on to say, the last couple of years, however, were quite different. I was leading the most important project in the history of my department, with many stakeholders and complex goals. What I could do was always bounded by my ability to convince all the people involved that it was the best way to navigate our goals. And then he said, I was always going to be working on somebody else's terms at Amazon. The terms were simple in the beginning, but kept getting more complicated as the years passed by. Then there were other restrictions inherent to working in a large organization about how to do the work to do, what goals to set, and what business was worth pursuing. This situation was squeezing me into doing things that I'd rather not do, and vice versa. So he said, you know what, I'm walking away from this. It doesn't matter. You could pay me $1 million. My motivation is still in the pits. So he bypassed this $500,000 a year job at Amazon. And he even says, I could have made another $1 million if I stayed a few more years. And he says the work-life balance was good at Amazon, despite their reputation. He didn't need to prove himself. He could get everything done in 40 hours a week. So it's not burnout. He's not blaming burnout for walking away. He just wasn't feeling it. And so down here, he has a few interesting links. How I set myself up financially before I took the plunge, and then what I'm doing now for a living. Now, mind you, this was published nearly 2 years ago. So I was curious, okay, is this guy just another footnote in internet history, or is he still out here doing whatever? So I checked in, and this is his Reddit. This is from last month. He says, I made $210,822 selling a PDF and a video on the internet. I have 2 info products on the market. The Good Parts of AWS, 173-page PDF released on December 25th, 2019. And Everyone Can Build a Twitter Audience, a 100-minute video released on April 22nd, 2020. So he's bringing in money that way, and he makes it clear these 2 products made me $210,000 in profit. He's not spending relatively very much money to make this amount. You know, a lot of times people will show their income and it's like, I made $1 million when they spent $900,000 in advertising. Yeah, that's kind of a big risk. But this guy is doing all right to make $210,000 out of grossing $237,000. He's also making something called user base, which is the easiest way to add user accounts and data persistence on your static site, at least according to his site. And so who knows if he's making money on this as well. And he did add some more context to his story. So this is another article on Indie Hackers. He links to it in the main article here about how he prepared his finances before going his own way. He actually had over $1 million in liquid assets. And then this was an interesting little chart too. These are his expenses average per month. Every month locked into a $4,000 mortgage, health insurance every month, $1,250, $2,000 for groceries and other essentials, $800 in utilities, $2,600 for infrequent or unexpected things he's just setting aside. So yeah, I thought this was a very interesting story. A lot of us do hear about these stories of people walking away and starting their own business. It's not just that they decided to do it out of the blue. It doesn't say in this article, but if you follow up and see his planning is what enabled him to walk away without freaking out 24/7. I want to know what you developers think. Is this something you would consider doing at this income tier? $500,000 a year? Would you walk away if you just weren't feeling it? Or would you stay a few more years, rack up $1 million or $2 and then do it? Or would you just stay until retirement or what? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.